You're not even born yet, but there's an odd tension in the womb, as if the cosmos itself senses the chaos you'll unleash. Warm, cramped, oblivious, you float in that prenatal twilight until, kaboom! You enter a modest Austrian town, shrieking loud enough to wake the neighbors. Welcome to the world, Adolf Hitler. Right now, you're just a wailing bundle of soft flesh, ignorant of the nightmares your name will conjure for generations. Your father looms like a walking sermon on discipline, mustache bristling whenever you so much as whimper. He believes children should be hammered into shape, their spirits molded under a strict regimen of, because I said so. Your mother, by contrast, coddles you like a porcelain doll, fussing over every cough. It's a seesaw of authoritarian bark and syrupy doting, and you, the bewildered infant, learn to navigate both. Maybe you glean a stubborn resilience from dad and a sense of specialness from mom, a volatile mix waiting to ignite. Time yanks you into childhood. You're the loner in class, hunched over drawings of grand cathedrals while the other kids chase each other around. Teachers label you a dreamer. Your father calls your art frivolous nonsense. Your mother tries to defend you, praising every stick figure as a masterpiece. You cling to her warmth, quietly resenting your father's constant disapproval. Already, an ember of anger flickers inside, feeding on each derisive snort from the old man. Determined to prove yourself, you apply to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, convinced they'll hail you as the next genius. But reality clubs you with 2 rejection letters. Crushed, you slip into a grim life of painting postcards for disinterested tourists, your illusions eroding day by day. When your mother dies, that last soft place in the world vanishes. Your father's spirit looms in your memory, his bark, his rigid rules, and you're left with a bitter sense that the universe has cheated you. Then war explodes across Europe. World War I turns the continent into a slaughterhouse. You enlist, longing for camaraderie, glory, or maybe just escape from your artistic failures. Trench life is a festival of filth, mud, disease, artillery blasts lighting the sky like twisted fireworks. You watch friends evaporate in screams and smoke. By the time the armistice comes, you're furious that your homeland lost, certain some faceless enemy must be to blame. It's the perfect emotional accelerant for what's next. You drift through a humiliated Germany, stumbling into the Nazi Party, a breeding ground for raw anger, scapegoating, and grandiose promises. One night, you take the stage, spewing vitriol about betrayal and national rebirth. The crowd's roaring approval sends a thrill up your spine. You realize your father's bull-headed discipline and your mother's conviction that you're special have mutated into a dark talent for manipulating the masses. Who needs a paintbrush when you can conjure entire storms of resentment with your voice alone? Your meteoric rise is fueled by a populace hungry for simple answers. You even spend time in prison for a failed coup, using the solitude to hammer out a hate-filled manifesto. People devour your words, desperate for someone to blame and an easy roadmap to restoration. Before long, you're not just an angry speaker, you're at the helm of the nation, turning democracy into a doormat under your polished boots. The rejections in Vienna feel like a distant joke now. You've outgrown the dream of painting scenic vistas. Instead, you're about to paint the map of Europe red with conflict. Posters bearing your stern face plaster every wall, your strident speeches fill the airwaves, and your father's old model of discipline takes on a monstrous new form. You call it unity, revival, greatness. Others see the iron fist behind the bombastic words, yet the crowds cheer, enthralled by your confident swagger and convenient scapegoats. No one dares speak of your mother's coddling or your father's snarl, but it's all there, swirling in your psyche like an unstable potion. Soon you push beyond your borders, forging shaky alliances and sending your armies marching. Blitzkriegs tear across the continent, toppling countries in a matter of weeks. You crow about destiny, about a 1,000-year empire. But each conquest provokes stronger resistance. Nations band together, bracing themselves against your onslaught. Still, you press forward, convinced you alone can reshape the world. Then you sink into absolute depravity, the Holocaust. You erect a machinery of death so monstrous that it staggers comprehension. Concentration camps sprout like blights, funneling millions into systematic extermination. Entire families vanish into the maw of cruelty. You rationalize it with twisted logic about purity and space, but the truth is you've unleashed a genocide that scars the planet's conscience forever. World War II envelops the globe, overshadowing all prior conflicts. Bombs level entire cities, armies clash in epic battles, and civilians flee in terror. Despite mounting losses and spreading chaos, you cling to delusions of victory. Your father's ghost might whisper in your ear, discipline at all costs. But the cost is too high. Allies desert you, your supply lines crumble, and your grand vision cracks like cheap glass under the strain. At last, you cower in a bunker beneath your ruined capital. Above, bombs savage the city, your once vaunted armies beaten back at every turn. Reality's final blow is undeniable. Your empire is collapsing. Your propaganda is spent. Rather than face the consequences, you put a bullet in your head, leaving the world to pick up the charred, bloody pieces of your ambition. In your wake, millions lie dead, cities are burned husks, and the name Adolf Hitler becomes a universal synonym for evil. All those father-son tensions and motherly kisses you once knew are drowned beneath an ocean of atrocity. The father who demanded obedience never imagined you'd enslave whole nations. The mother who sang lullabies never foresaw you'd orchestrate genocide. And you, the failed artist, become the darkest cautionary tale in human memory. So, dear viewer, yes, you, if you've ever moaned about family drama, at least you're not forging global destruction from your childhood hang-ups. However warped your home life might be, it's probably a paradise next to the twisted destiny that fell into your lap. And that, in all its vicious color, is your cartoonish guided tour of Adolf Hitler's life. If you stuck around through this saga of black humor and relentless horror, you deserve a pat on the back, and maybe a stiff drink. Now do yourself a favor, hit that like button and subscribe, because after trudging through this monstrous meltdown, you're owed a little respite. Nobody needs to relive this catastrophic story more than once. But wait, let's not close the curtain just yet. There's one more note to scribble on this macabre canvas. Consider how easily a single human's unresolved anger can spiral into mass violence when paired with a desperate society. How swiftly a broken dream can mutate into a global nightmare. It's a lesson hammered home by your father's iron fist and your mother's unwavering praise, twisted together to form the darkest chapter in modern history. One stifled artist's bitterness, magnified by war and chaos, can morph into the wrecking ball of civilization. And while your father's mustache loomed like a constant reprimand, and your mother's doting hands tried to swaddle you from every harsh wind, neither could have fathomed the grotesque symphony you'd compose on the world stage. Perhaps, if the Academy had opened its doors, you would have channeled that fiery ambition into canvases of color instead of policies of terror. Perhaps, if war never erupted, you'd have slunk through life as a bitter footnote. But history doesn't bow to what if. In the end, your father's discipline taught you ruthlessness, your mother's devotion inflated your ego, and your own resentments lit the fuse that set the planet ablaze. Let this final note linger. A single soul, crippled by fury and emboldened by chaos, can reshape nations into graveyards. That is the catastrophic power you wielded, all born from the simplest seeds of pride and rejection. So you see, dear viewer, this entire fiasco of a life, from newborn cries to a gunshot in a bunker, was fueled by the simplest human failings: wounded pride, a thirst for validation, and the lethal combination of discipline with no compassion. Let that be a reminder for all time that the seeds of catastrophe can sprout in the quiet corners of a broken heart, exploding into a storm that engulfs the world. And if you're watching this, hopefully you're choosing empathy, growth, and a dash of self-awareness, anything to avoid walking this gruesome path.